Akram Belkaïd is an editor-in-chief of Le Monde Diplomatique. Born in Algeria in 1964, he graduated from an engineering school and began his career in Algeria, writing for Le Quotidien d'Algérie and La Nation. He settled in France in 1996, where he wrote for the economic and financial daily La Tribune. Author of several works on Algeria, the Maghreb, and the Middle East, his work also covers current events, commodity markets, and international geopolitics of the entire Arab world. The book that we're glad to present today is actually a translation to English of Akram's book, entitled Full Moon over Baghdad, and translated by Lucy McNeese, who's our special guest today to tell us something more around her work. Hi, Lucy. Welcome to Conoscere TV, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here.
So I would start by introducing the content of Akram's book. What is it about, please?
Well, the subject, as you can tell from the title, seems to be about the invasion of Iraq on 9/11, a traumatic event that now most people agree has had catastrophic consequences. But what Akram intended to do, I believe, is to show that this tragedy or this catastrophe, this mistake, even by American specialists, has provoked other experiences that were perhaps unacknowledged or unseen or unknown, and he uses this catastrophe to give audiences insight into aspects of Arab cultures, and there are a great variety of them, and they're all different, insight into intimate details of these cultures. And so he uses this catastrophe as a way of entering into aspects of these cultures that most people know nothing about. And because of the historical conditions following this event, as we well know, and I would say now it's even more exacerbated, the cliches and the reductive vision of the Islamic world has become even more distorted. So, and from my point of view, why did I want to translate this so much? I teach American students in Paris about the Islamic world, and I realized and I also taught at the University of Connecticut, where I realized the Americans know very little about really the daily life of different Arabs cultures, and most of what has been done on the Arab world in English talks about the former Arab colonies of England and not the French experience, which is quite different. So this text discusses a number of 14 different post-colonial French experiences, so like some in the Maghreb and the Near East. So that's a sort of a double. I think Akram also was aware of this because he spent time in America, so he knows what Americans lived through with 9/11 and how the war on terror really produced cliches about the Islamic world. And now we're living actually in this very moment, as we know, a resurgence of these polemical visions, let's say, which tend to be reductive about the Islamic world. I hope that helps a little.
You are exactly anticipating the following question that I would like to ask you, which is, why did you decide to translate and publish the translation for English-speaking readers? I mean, I think that you were anticipating that, right?
Well, it's was part of my answer to the first question, I guess. But I also should add that the poetics of this text, and I mean in the broad sense poetics, not just poetry, although Belkaïd is has a poetic style. a forceful poetic style. He also draws on history of Arab cultures, which were very much tied to poetry, and manages to give us information in a way that is never dictated or never sort of ideologically bound. It's really remarkable. I didn't know him very well when I started working on the text, and I actually talked about it in a session in Paris and at a research center, and Belkaïd was there, and he was surprised that that an American had read it and had this strong reaction. And he was concerned that people would find it discouraging. And I found it absolutely quite the opposite. There are many signs in each of these chapters or these tales that show us that there's capacity for renewal and change. So I find that the literary aspect of the text also was very, impressed me very much.
Very quickly, because we do not have much time, what was the biggest challenge while translating Belkaïd's book?
Well, I think I'm almost bilingual in French and English, but Belkaïd's text incorporates expressions and images and metaphors that are indigenous to the Maghreb that were a challenge for me. I spoke to him about some of them, but some of them I had to work on myself. And I'd lived in the Maghreb, so I had heard of them, but I really didn't know exactly what to do at first.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you very much for this chat, which was wonderful. And we wish you best luck with your translation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Full Moon over Baghdad, a collection of evocative short stories that recalls a key moment in the history of Iraq and the Middle East. Apparently independent, these 14 chapters are actually intertwined by the presence of the moon, which marks existences and events, together as well as quotes from Arabic poetry. Full Moon over Baghdad, written by Akram Belkaïd and translated by Lucy McNeese, is now available in bookstores and digital platforms. It's a publication by Eurobox.